existing in the IdleNoMore movement in solidarity with Theresa Spence, but also in vehement protest against the highly controversial Bill C-45. To explain what Bill C-45 is, it's an omnibus bill, which means that a whole slew of topics, not just Aboriginal affairs, but environmental rights and other issues, have been kind of conflated into one piece of legislation. And so many Canadians are feeling they're not being consulted on these kind of radical changes that are taking place under the Harper regime. Many would say we've almost undergone regime change in Canada with this neocon, neoliberal Harper government. And this relates to Aboriginal matters because the Harper government is viewed as being aligned with the resource companies that profit from the looting and plundering of the resources of Canada. Of course, Canada is a resource superpower with diamonds and oil and gas. And I think the Harper government would say, oh, it's very laborious for us to have to consult with these Indigenous peoples who kind of get in the way of the lucrative profits that can be reaped from Canada for those who are fortunate enough to own oil companies, for example. And so the view of the Indigenous peoples is that, no, we should be negotiating in a nation-to-nation way. That, you know, we refer to Canada's Aboriginals in Canada as the First Nations. That implies that they are actually nations, like the Palestinians or the Iranians. They're a nation. And so the leadership, or the genuine leadership of the Aboriginals in Canada, people like Theresa Spence, would like to negotiate with the government of Canada on a nation-to-nation basis. And that's why Theresa Spence has been insisting upon meeting with the Governor-General of Canada, who is the Queen's representative. And although that seems kind of antiquated to many people, the fact of the matter is that the Crown did indeed treat Canada's Aboriginal peoples at initial colonization as negotiating between nation to nation, and treaties were struck and so on. And so this heritage of trying to treat Aboriginal peoples as autonomous nations is kind of being spat upon by the Harper government, who's more interested in expediting the colonization of Canada and the continued plundering of the resources that lie under the historic territories of Canada's Indigenous peoples. And that's at the heart of the dispute. And so many Canadians are upset with the Harper government's kind of cavalier approach to democracy, where people, the general population, but Aboriginals in particular, aren't feeling that they're being consulted by the government, but rather that we're kind of being dictated to when it comes to these radical changes that will change Canada forevermore.
All right, very well. From Calgary, Alberta, Canada, that was Press TV's Joshua Blakeney. Thank you very much for the update, Joshua. Elsewhere, Israel forcefully evacuates a protest camp set up by foreign activists and Palestinian protesters at a site designated for Israeli settlement units. Israeli forces clashed with some 200 activists who had set up makeshift tents in the occupied West Bank to prevent Israel from building new settler units. The Israeli premier has ordered the closure of roads leading to the site.